What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the framework and another very special episode of The Lion and the Physique. With always my good friend Todd Lyons. What's going on, Todd?
Hey, Ryan, what's up?
Thank you for doing this again. It's been a few weeks since we've been able to get together. So one thing that you and I kind of discuss behind the scenes, and one thing we're kind of always bouncing ideas off each other, is kind of what our diets look like and how we kind of progress with macros, so to speak, and kind of determining that. So let's jump right in, man. I mean, obviously, we're both in the off season right now. We both kind of keeping cardio and our training is relatively the same for the most part. So talk to me about like what your diet looks like. How many times a day are you eating? Let's get into like kind of like protein options and stuff like that.
All right. So for right now, I prefer to have like 3 to 4 meals. That's always been my thing. The standard like coaching strategy is usually like 6 meals a day and stuff. I can't get 6 meals down, nor do I have the time to eat 6 meals at work and everything like a lot of coaches recommend. I've read studies that like as long as in a 24-hour period of time you're eating, the right amount of carbs, fats, and proteins for yourself, it just matters not the amount, but just getting it throughout the daytime. It doesn't have to be six, doesn't have to be one. For me, 3 to 4 works best for me. Uh, Breakfast time is pretty much the same for most part day to day. It's multiple eggs, some egg whites. I'll throw in some salsa. I'll have juice, like no calorie juice, like my Minute Maid or something like that. And I'll have some cereal too as well. That's some of my carbs. A lot of people are like, oh my God, you eat cereal? Yes, I eat cereal. As well as, sometimes I'll have a treat too as well, like a donut or something like that with it on occasion, just to kind of mix it all up together. And that works for me. And lunchtime is pretty much your standard broccoli, cauliflower, corn, peppers, and chicken. That's kind of like my lunchtime thing. And I'll have like a diet soda with that and maybe like a chip or two or something like that. Dinner time is usually the same thing. I usually have pasta with chicken and or meatballs or both and a salad to go with it. And that's pretty much my diet. Sometimes I'll add more to it. Sometimes I'll add less. Sometimes I'll add in, something good like junk food or something like that throughout the daytime. But for me, what matters most is the amount of energy I'm burning with my cardio, my training, is what determines what I'm going to be eating or not eating or eating more of. So that's what I do. What about yourself?
Do you do any protein shakes throughout the day? You don't like throw in.
No. I've like I mentioned it before, I'm a big disciple of Mike Mentzer and Dorian Yates and that kind of training and stuff, the high intensity training. For me, I found that works best for me than just high volume. High intensity works best for me for weight training. And what Mike used to talk about in his trainings and stuff was not overdoing it on protein. And a lot of people end up overdoing on protein, which the most important one in his book and in my book too, as well as carbohydrates. Your carbs really are the central one, and everything else should follow underneath it. You do need some fats and you do need your proteins, but without the carbs, in a lot of cases, for me, for energy wise and what I do, if I don't have that, that's what matters most to me is the carbs.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprisingly, I mean, we're both bodybuilders. We both, compete in the same organization. We're both relatively the same size as far as height and weight goes off season.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I am a 5-6 meal a day guy, and I do three solid meals and two protein shakes a day. Um, so I want to back up a little bit to, you kind of discussed your meal one. I mean, obviously your 3 meals during contest prep, your 3 meals off season, like it's pretty much the same year round.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, there's times where it's variance depending on what's going on. Like if I'm on vacation, or maybe I'm having some time off, whatever. Maybe I'll up it a little bit. Or sometimes, actually, if I feel like I'm starting to burn out a bit, I'll actually start eating more, give myself more nutrients to use and more recovery time. Like if I notice that's happening, I'm starting to get sluggish, or my numbers are starting to plateau, or my cardio isn't what it used to be all of a sudden, then I'll pull back a bit and up the fuel for it.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, I do right now. I do 5 meals.
Oh wow.
So meal one is always going to be a protein shake, 100 grams of pineapple. Well, it's 50 grams of protein powder. So which, depending on the brand, could vary from 35 to 45 grams of actual protein. I'd use 50 grams of like a carbolite or whatever, just a plain carb powder in that shake. And then as far as like a solid food, I'll do like 100 grams of pineapple,
Mhm.
more for the fiber and the digestion. I have piss poor digestion first thing in the morning. So to
Oh,
like
wow.
sit down and try to get, the 5 eggs, the egg whites, the protein, the fruit, the bagels, like that stuff would just absolutely kill me. I just would not be able to function. Like I could eat that at like 7 a.m. I actually talk about it a little bit on the previous episode with Mike. Like if I ate that at 7 a.m.,
Mhm.
I would not be able to train until 9:30, 10 o'clock. Like
Oh,
it would
see,
just destroy me.
I can do that and be ready to go in 20 minutes. I can eat
Yeah,
all that.
see, that must be nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm doing my breakfast for the most part hasn't changed this off season. Contest prep, I was doing 3 rice cakes, um, all natural peanut butter, 16 grams, and a protein shake, same concept, 50 grams of the powder itself. So again, 35, 45 grams protein. And that was just like another thing. Like I was training so much later in the day, so
Mhm.
it could take me 30 to 35 minutes to get that breakfast down.
Mhm.
So getting up in the morning, contest prep, doing my cardio, whatever it accounted for that day, waiting 15, 20 minutes, and then going and eating and having to like lay on the couch with my feet up for like 45 minutes because it's just my stomach was just a mess.
Wow.
Um, Added in psyllium husk to my PM shake, which is my last meal of the day. Helped to the extent of if I had to get up and train, it would take me a little bit to get in physically into training and pushing the heavy weight, but the psyllium husk helped to some extent, um, but not enough to where I felt like it was playing a major factor in, oh, I could eat as much as I wanted in the morning and then go train.
Do you use prebiotics or anything like that?
Yeah, I've used, digestive enzymes. I've used probiotics. What a lot of people don't realize is the best probiotics you can get for yourself are are cold. They're the ones that you see in the fridge.
Oh, yeah. Kombucha, sauerkraut,
Yeah,
stuff.
because a digestive enzyme or a probiotic is only alive when it's cold. A digestive enzyme. So it's living and it's doing the job that it's supposed to. Now, you take that enzyme and you put it on a warm truck or you transport it however you do, the enzyme essentially dies to some extent, and then you put it back in a fridge or you put it on a shelf. So I'm not one to say digestive enzymes and probiotics don't work, but for
Mhm.
the purpose that some people, it's the same type of concept as apple cider vinegar. Like people think
Mhm.
doing apple cider vinegar every morning is going to restore their gut health. Where in reality, it's really just going to kind of help you go to the bathroom. I don't really know if that's healing your gut. There's no scientific proof that apple cider vinegar and lemon juice first thing in the morning is your miracle cure to morning digestive issues.
Right.
Same thing as probiotics and digestive enzymes is you can take those things, but same thing as the psyllium husk that I was taking. Yes, it supported gut health, but it did not adapt one way or the other that I was all of a sudden cured or any better or any worse.
Right.
Um, if that answered your question.
Does.
Moving from my meal one into meal two is usually some form of protein, usually chicken. I'll do back to back chicken meals. I've been very lucky to train kind of middle of the day, 2, 3 o'clock. So it's about 120 grams of chicken and 300 grams of jasmine rice, which
Mhm.
seems like a lot of rice, but I got to be full. And then I'm adding 5 grams of fat to that, which is about 15 milliliters of like olive oil. I'll just drizzle on my food.
Mhm.
Um, Moving on from that, I'll do another chicken meal. This is post workout, same macros, 15 milliliters of olive oil, uh, chicken, and jasmine rice. Then I'll move into a red meat. So whether that's 200 grams of ground beef, 90/10. It's very hard for me to find anything with less fat than that. At least locally, like I know some people recommend like 94.6. I've seen that sometimes. I've seen 93.7. Like my local food store, which is just a local Acme, is 90.10. That's like the leanest that I've been able to see.
Mhm.
That with 200 grams of potato, some form of potato, and then the protein shake and fruit again at the end of the day. Again, hoping to kind of fast track my digestion for when I wake up.
Mm.
So you've heard I mean, as a coach and a personal trainer, let's say somebody comes to you and that's what they ask. They say, "Hey, here's my diet laid out for you, very structured."
Mhm.
You know, more or less, that's kind of my off-season diet right now. As a coach, how would you adjust that? You know my body to this point for the most part. We've had a million and one discussions, regarding how my training is and my caloric output. What would you say to a diet like that?
I say it's pretty good what you're doing right there. Like you're eating, Funyuns and other stuff like that, and drinking a gallon of Pepsi every day or whatever.
Uh,
So that's so. I mean, for people, that are in your boat where you're eating super like clean and healthy. I mean, the only thing you could do is if you want to put on more size, just eat more what you're already eating, or if you want to, get leaner, eat less what you're eating. You want to maintain, just keep doing what you're doing. I mean, people overcomplicate fitness, diet, all this other stuff, and they think, "Oh my gosh, I need a coach, a guru, this whatever." You really don't. I mean, yes, it can help some people, especially if you're leading a very busy lifestyle. It help, and it can help to kind of not have to think about it. But for the most part, though, a lot of it is just common sense in a lot of cases. You want to look better, feel better, eat more natural foods. You want to gain more weight, just eat more of it. You want to lose some weight, eat less of it. You want to stay where you're at, just keep doing what you're doing. I mean,
yeah. Now, some people will argue off season versus contest prep, the amount of
mm-hmm,
cheat meals, or I like to call them replacement meals, because you're obviously replacing the final meal of the day. I always felt more comfortable replacing, and now that I've kind of laid it out for you, I've always felt more comfortable replacing that ground beef and potato meal
mm-hmm.
with, let's say 2 quarter pounders and fries, or 20 nuggets and stuff. Because if I'm gonna have a meal, I'm gonna have it big. I can't just I can't just have a burger and fries. I always
Right.
have to go all out. And then finishing the day with like just a protein shake and removing those carbs, in the fruit and the carb powder, and just having your standard protein shake. How do you determine how many replacement meals or cheat meals you're having a week? I know right now you and I have discussed in the past where you're kind of rebounding from a show, your diet's a little more laxed. Um, from a percentage standpoint, are you like 80-20 every day, clean to dirty? Are you 50-50? Are you 30-70? Are you trying to maintain some form of off-season structure, or is it, I'll get to that, later?
50-50. I do throw in some junk during the week. I find that, and I've seen this happen with clients too as well. If they eat like too clean and they go to eat something like junk related, whether it be pizza or whatever it is, their stomachs will just lock up and just not agree with what you gave them. So I kind of have this weird thing where I like to keep a little bit in my system during the week. That way, if I ever, for whatever reason, if I'm scrambling someplace, I need to eat something like that, my body's not going to put it into my stomach into a headlock and hold on to it and everything. And it'll actually be like okay for it. Um, I think it's kind of important too, depending on how your diet is. There's people I know that they just want to eat clean and live clean, and that's fine. I mean, more power to you. I'm one of those people. Hey, I like my chicken nuggets. I like to have a little pizza every so often. I like
Yeah.
to have beers and everything like that. I like that stuff, and I enjoy that stuff. And you only get to live once, and to be so regimented where you're torturing yourself, or at least to yourself. I mean, some people again, they might just like eating carrots and chicken all day long, and hey, more power to you. Other people ain't going to like that. So if you have little rewards and little things here and there, it can kind of help you out throughout the daytime and keep you going with your diet. So
Yeah, I mean, I would say I'm a little more 80-20. If, for example, it's 7:30, I have one meal left to go, and
mhm.
my wife, who's obviously pregnant now, she says like, oh, I could really go for McDonald's chicken nuggets. Like,
Mm.
I'm gonna get them for her. I'm gonna reward my wife for carrying my child. But obviously I'm gonna have a little something too. So I would say 80-20, more for a mental health. I feel like sometimes I run into, and it's entirely mental, and you and I have talked about this 100 times, and it kind of says in a couple previous episodes we did, like, I need a coach because I need somebody in my ear telling me, like, the old Arnold quote, like, put that cookie down.
Mhm.
Not that I don't have the discipline. I know that I have the discipline. I'm not working with anybody right now in my off season, and I know I'm still remaining structured.
Mhm.
Um, so to my point, to backtrack, um,
Mhm.
you know, how do you determine when, as a coach, let me ask you as a personal trainer and a coach, how would you determine with your client, somebody like me who has poor digestion and, I still maintain, that 80/20, I'm a very structured lifestyle. How would you determine when I should or shouldn't have cheat meals?
So what we do is, and what I do is, I weigh myself throughout the daytime. I'll weigh myself upon waking up and before I go to bed. And then during the week, I'll do tape measurings and everything just to kind of see where I'm at. The biggest thing there is I'm looking at the waist and seeing how the waist is going. If I start to see the little numbers creep up on the centimeters part for my weight, and it means that I'm gaining weight in my stomach region, which is what I don't want to do. I'll also check against my biceps and my quadriceps and my calves and just make sure to see how they're doing, my neck muscle as well, just to kind of see those numbers. If visually, if I look at myself or my clients or whatever, and I can tell like there's something going wrong here, like you're gaining weight, or like based on these photos we did a few weeks ago, here's your new photos now, and you can tell like you've lost definition in your ab region, like we can't see your abs anymore. That's when I'm like, okay, we got to pull back on these meals. We got to make it more strict, more regimented. We might have to up the little cardio a little bit more and everything just to kind of get you back on track again. So that's what I do. When I start to see the numbers start to fail, not so much the scale. Scale is a good indicator. Okay, we're gaining. The tape measure is more like, okay, where are we gaining? What are we gaining? Or what are we
I
losing?
like
Because you
that.
could gaining and losing at the same time. That's possible, especially for people who are more new to the sport and more new to bodybuilding in general versus someone who's been doing it for many years. It's a little bit harder to do that. So that's what I look at, the numbers on the scale and the tape measure, and that will determine where we're going with this.
Gotcha. And you're a very high intensity cardio guy, right? So like the way that you eat and the way that you've kind of dieted and structured your plan on season and off season, you kind of make up for it in the amount of cardio that you're doing. Your normal cardio for a bodybuilder, which I'm familiar with, and I know a lot of competitors that I've spoken to, is you're on the treadmill, at a sharp incline, maybe 6 to 8% for 45 minutes at about 3 miles an hour. You're out there doing hit training and high intensity. You're running, you're sprinting the stairs.
Yep.
So now, do you believe that there's a right way and a wrong way to do cardio? How are you determining what cardio? I mean, I know that you're doing the tape measure and the scale, but how do you determine, like, well, this works for me, so it has to work for somebody else, or how do you gauge a cardio approach for a client?
I'm glad you talked about this because this has been a big pet peeve of mine for a while. Is that a lot of coaches out there, especially in the bodybuilding community, will just crap all over cardio and to say like, oh, you don't need cardio and cardio is not as important, and you should spend more of your time lifting and the diet and blah blah blah. Cardio is just as important as it is to lift weights and everything. They show in studies that the VO2 max, which is the amount of oxygen your body can use in a minute, is a critical number to figure out to determine your longevity. And I would rather be able to go run distances than to be super massive and get out of breath walking up a flight of stairs, which I've seen many big guys that cannot move up a flight of stairs. For cardio purposes, and I got off my soapbox right there. For cardio purposes, I also track different numbers. So VO2 max is one. There's calculations I do to get that number. I see what my pace count is when I'm doing mileage and kind of verify it against previous things, similar to like weightlifting. Let's say you come in the gym and like last week you're doing bench press, you're doing like 150 for 10 reps. You come in this week, you go to the bench press again, and 150 I can only do 6 times. Okay, we got to change it up. There's something going on here. You shouldn't have dropped that much. Same thing with cardio. I'll check my heart rate, my resting heart rate. I'll see what those numbers are. I'll also check my blood pressure. I check my blood pressure a couple of times during the week, just kind of get a basis. I'll check it 3 times in a row, get my basis for my numbers and see what my resting heart rate is, and then determine, should I do more today? Should I do less today? Also with cardio, it's similar to weightlifting where I'll have an idea what I'm going to do. If I get out there and I'm just not feeling it, I might just do a lot less. Or if I go do the Stairmaster and let's say I'm like, okay, I'm doing an hour on the Stairmaster today, and I get there and I'm like, I'm not really feeling it. I'm going to push it to 45 or 50 minutes, or maybe I'll just lower the intensity a bit. Sometimes it's just you just know. All right, I got to change this up a little bit, bring it back a little bit, and then making sure you have enough fuel in your system. I mean, I prefer to keep adding on more fuel and doing a little bit more cardio than to subtract the fuel and then subtract the cardio on top of that. For me, it's just I enjoy cardio. I mean, a lot of people hate it and will bash it any chance they get because they hate it and they don't know how to do it correctly. But if you do it correctly, and like, nothing to me is better than running outdoors like today. It's nice outside. The birds are chirping. The flowers are blooming. The trees are everywhere. There's no one around. You hear some bubbling brooks or whatever where you're running on the road. That to me is peaceful as anything. And I would take that any day of the week, but I'm different, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you and I have discussed, and I'm guilty of, I did a pretty decently long prep, and it was about 18 weeks and change. And I still don't feel that at the, come show day that I was super peeled, and I don't feel I was as conditioned as I could have been. I feel like I was at about 90%, maybe even 85%. And, when the variables are small changes, I understand obviously that that's what benefits, being in the military. I was an 88 Mike and I was driving these 18 wheelers, and, when you're backing an 18 wheeler in, you just turn a little bit, you just turn a little bit, just small, because if you go too much, the whole back end's going to come out, and your truck's going to, you're going to jackknife. So, I understand the need to make small changes and update, variables minimally, but
Mhm.
it almost makes you feel like, man, I'm never going to get there. Like, if we're not making changes, I'm never going to get there. And I know that that's a huge problem from a client perspective. And I know it's very aggravating as a coach and a personal trainer, is like, I want to see changes now.
Mhm.
I feel like in a contest prep, especially towards the ends, like, shouldn't you be seeing those changes a little more frequently? Like, exactly. So I knew the answer. That was a trick question. So, I'm doing, this form of cardio, and then it's do 5 minutes more. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I feel like there's more that I could be doing. And, my heart rate on an incline treadmill can get up to, 120, 125, where, I mean, what was your heart rate getting at its peak with some of your cardio sessions?
So since I've adapted to it, it's calmed down considerably. Peak right around now, my heart rate will get up to 150 beats, 160 beats, right around there per minute at like my absolute max when I'm going all out. When it should be higher than that, but my body's adapted to it. So for me, that's my quote unquote peak numbers right there, 150 to 160, right around there at my peak. My resting heart rate, though, my resting heart rate will be anywhere between 36 beats a minute to 44 beats a minute. So
Wow.
yeah, that's like on pace with like Manny Pacquiao. Like that's his like numbers and stuff when he wakes up with another Olympians too.
My
That's like,
resting heart rate is like 68 to 75.
well, that's because that's still good though. See, but
Is it?
mine's is yes, anything between 60 and 100 is considered normal.
I have high anxiety though. I'm a high stress person,
Yeah,
so I feel like my heart rate's always a little high.
could be blood pressure too as well a little bit.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's why I don't have cheat meals, man.
Yeah, but I also with my cardio thing though, with my clients, I
Yeah.
don't necessarily give them what I do. Like I enjoy running, and if I get a client that enjoys it too, I can make it part of their life. I hate it when coaches take something away from someone who actually enjoys that and like makes it almost miserable for them because it's like right now they're not going to want to do the work or anything like that. Um, but for my clients, it depends on what they do. I mean, there's clients I've had run, and actually a lot of them I don't have them run. It just depends on who I get and what the circumstances are. Not everybody can go run and everything. It's a skill, no different than deadlifting and squatting. Running is also skill too, as I'm sure you probably know from your time in the Army. If you don't run correctly, you're going to feel it real quickly over time.
Oh yeah. It's gonna kill you.
Hmm.
Dude, this is a great place to stop. And we touched on, breaking down our diets, the reason behind why we diet the way we diet, the frequency of cheat meals and replacement meals, when they should be factored in, when they should be removed. and how cardio plays a role in your diet as well. So, dude, thank you again, as always. This was an awesome episode. I'm excited to watch it back. I feel like our episodes I watch over and over again, just because it's just quality conversation.
Definitely. Me too.
Yeah, man. So whether it be next week or the following week, who knows? We don't know when the next time we'll link up. But thank you, everybody, for stopping by the framework. Thanks for sitting through another line in the physique. And Todd, thanks for coming out, man.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, everybody.